I'm going to be working on the rear brake caliper. I'm going to be taking it apart and getting ready to do a rebuild on it. The SP version of the Supersport, which is what this is, has it mounting on the bottom of the rotor, and then it has this torque arm lever that mounts over here around the exhaust. So that's what I'm going to be showing today. First thing I'm going to do is clean this, and I'm wearing gloves. There could be asbestos on here. Only use like denatured alcohol or brake cleaner. So if you look here, the pad on the left looks like it might be thinner than the other one, so I want to make sure that they're both moving. It's making noise, so I'm going to change the pads regardless. But so to change the pads, this pin has to get knocked out. So the way to remove the pads is to tap this out. This is a little brass hammer. Got it. That's kind of corroded. I have to clean that up. And actually, let's see, I guess I'm gonna make sure I got a good documentation on this here. Here I'm showing that I'm checking the brake pads. There was a slight taper, about 1 millimeter on them. And you'll notice in the video here too that there's a real shine or glaze to them. So I don't know if that was the source of the noise or not. But regardless, I'm going to be replacing them with some OEM sintered pads. Put a large washer inside the caliper so that way each piston can be pushed out by pressing on the brake pedal, and I was able to free up both pistons. I placed the aluminum bar inside of the brake caliper so that way I could safely break the bolt loose on the hose without damaging the caliper. I don't want to nick it up or anything, so this is a good way to hold it. There's a very stubborn bolt that holds the brake hose bracket on the back there that I ended up having to put some penetrating oil on, and I'm gonna let it sit for a little while. I got some plastic in the vice jaws to avoid scratching the caliper. I had to hold it very tight in order to break loose these two bolts. Using compressed air to break loose the pistons out of the caliper is recommended in the Haynes manual, and it worked out well. I chose to use the ultrasonic cleaner to clean the brake calipers. That's non-toxic, that's water soluble, and here is me setting them in there. You want to make sure to clean up everything as much as possible before you put it in the fluid, because it saves time and there's some things that can be harder to get out. I love this part. It's where you can actually see the dirt coming off of the calipers when I first start up the cleaner. I'm going to drain out the master cylinder. I want to get all of the old fluid out of this thing. So I'm going to flip this upside down here. It doesn't look too bad, I guess. I need to push on this piston here. This is what it's like when you're pressing in the brake pedal. Then press in on that. It's spring loaded. It's coming back. Okay, so I've got it purged out. I'm going to put it back together. Now this vacuum pump has a hose barb on it that's too long, so I add a little rubber that I put on there. Now I'm going to try to pull Yep, I think it's working. And before I bolt this back on here, I'm going to wipe this off with a little mild soap solution. I've got the rubber seals that came out of the calipers. I ordered new ones, but they aren't the right ones, and the dealer doesn't sell these. So I'm not going to wait to get the right ones. I'm going to put these back in here, but they're not all the same. There's the deeper one in there is a little bit wider, and then like by 0.5 millimeter or something. So watch out for that. I'm going to put a little bit of brake fluid in here just to wet the seals, so that way everything can be lubricated. So here I am working the seals in. I got a little brake fluid on there. It's wetted, so that one is in. Okay. And now the thicker one goes in first. And let me add a little more brake fluid here. See, this bottle poking the holes like this is really a good trick. There we go. I'm going to measure these things to see if they're the same size, just for kicks. Okay, so here we are. I'm in inches with this micrometer, 1.257. Let's see if this one measures the same. Oh yeah, exactly the same. The Haynes manual says put them back in the same way, but they measure exactly the same. Went crooked, wow. Okay, I'm pressing in very carefully, equal amount, and it is in. We are in. And now the other one here. Okay, all the way in. There we go. Pistons in. And now I've got the O-ring. The O-ring goes right there. Okay. Same thing. wet it, wet both sides, put that on there. All right, here's the caliper bolts. I wetted them with some oil. So I'm gonna put this on here. I got to figure out the brake pad mount. Here's my brake pads. I'm still waiting on the right ones. I'm just gonna put these back in here. But I guess this little clip just sat on there. All right, I've got a little bit of grease. I'm gonna put it on the edge of the pad right there. Both of them. I'm just getting it where they're gonna slide, and then I'm gonna get some on the pin here too. So the pad goes in. The holes line up there. Let's see. You got to be careful not to get that grease on the pads. So I'm gonna set this pin on here, and then this has a little clip. It goes in from the outside. Okay, I got one in. All right, that's how it holds it in place. Now I need to tap this in. I have this little brass hammer here. You can see, there we go. It just snapped in place. So now we're set. Take a good look at the spring pin. This is the single pin pad from Brembo. Instructions come with. They don't show how to install this clip right here. And that is how it sits. This part rocks up here and that part goes down there. And you don't have to compress it too hard to get it on. If you put it on backwards, that would happen. Okay, notice the torque rod goes onto a stud that's right there, and then it attaches up there on the bottom of the crankcase. I've got Loctite here that I'm putting on these caliper bolts that'll hold it. Open this up, and I'm watching now you can just see that fluid moving, and I'm still getting a few bubbles there, which I don't totally understand. So I still have to change the brake pads on this bike, but that's how the vacuum bleeder works, and the fluid just ends up coming into this canister right here. It's so easy and clean. You may have saw in an earlier video that I was using, or earlier in this video, I was using the one that didn't have the canister that I've had for a long time. That's all for the vacuum bleed. I ordered brake pads from the dealer, so I'd get the right thing, and this is what I got. So I'm going to be replacing some of those springs in there. This is slightly different than the old one. There's a new pin, and there's two of these little clips too. That's the part number right there, in case you wanted to know. These brake pads have arrows on them. What I'm reading is the arrow faces the direction of the disc rotation. So with the bike like this, the caliper on the bottom, then it'd be facing backwards.